Engineering 305. This is Chapter 7, Sections 5 and 6, really Section 5, shear and moment diagrams. The point of this section is to get you to be able to create shear and moment diagrams. Now, I have been treating this for many years as if this is a new thing, but the reality is I believe you've been covering this in Engineering 202, and so this is an extension of those ideas, but that's what we're going to do is shear and moment diagrams. This is really just an extension of what you've done. As I said, there are no new equations. It's just simply the use or the application of the sum of the forces equation and the sum of the moment equation, which I guess that's on the study guide. In fact, those are the first two equations from the study guide, but those are come out of 202. So we're going to apply those maybe a little bit differently so that we can get an equation or at least a representation of the shear and moment for the entire beam. Really, this is just a technique for displaying information. What it will allow us to do when we build these shear and moment diagrams is look at the shear and moment diagram for a beam, and we can find the maximum moment or the maximum shear very quickly. And then we can use those points to identify what the maximum stress or where the maximum stresses are going to be and evaluate it only at that point instead of everywhere. It's much quicker, easier, faster to identify the worst spot and then work with that instead of doing every spot and then figure out which was the worst. So that's what these diagrams are for. Now the keys to getting it right are really just in the sign convention. So if I apply a force to a section of beam that causes my beam to look like this. Now this is just from a shear perspective. That's this. This is positive shear. That's creating a positive shear. And I remember that because this creates steps going down. That's my mnemonic device. Going done. No. Steps going down. If I have steps going down, then that's a lot easier. I'm happy about that. That gives me positive feelings. It's a positive shear. All right. That's our first thing that we have to track. Second one, if I have a moment that does that, so that would be a moment like this and like that. If I have a moment, there's that diagram. If I have a moment that's causing this, this is a positive moment. Positive moment. Why? Because I'm smiling. All right? There's our sign convention. Now, that should be fairly straightforward. The key is in the application of this process, not just in the words. But getting the sign convention, it's just like units. If you don't get your units right, you can't get, well, if you don't get your sign convention right, this whole thing's going to fall apart. So how do we use this technique? How do we use this to solve our problems? Well, it's kind of like Moore's circle in that there are steps laid out, and we'll walk through those. The first step is that we get our beam and we section the beam at an arbitrary location X, and then we do a free body diagram of the section to the left. And I'm always working from the left to the right, and that makes me just the way I do that. And you simply need to be consistent as how you're doing that. You can work from either end, but you've got to work through that. So once you've made your section of your free body of your beam, then you solve the equilibrium equation, solve the sum of the forces and the sum of the moments, and then you have to repeat that for each beam segment and walk your way through. The key to this is really seeing examples. So the next thing, of course, is going to be the example problem. We're going to do example problem 7.5. We're going to work this problem quite a bit because it's just a good problem. It's got a lot of stuff going on in it. It's got a distributed load. It's got a point load. It's actually got 3 point loads if you think about it the way I do. And we're going to use this problem throughout Chapter 7 and much of the way into Chapter 8 to serve as an example so that we see what we're supposed to be doing. So our next presentation is example 7.5, and we'll probably learn a little bit there. All right, don't worry, there's more coming.